Good evening, everybody. We are back again on Tuesday night, the 17th of November, here to talk to you about the world of sports on the Safety and Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe. A lot to get to tonight. We got football. We got college basketball. I don't know where to start, actually, with what went on. We got the Giants in second place. Yes, after a huge victory over Philadelphia on Sunday. At least that made my day. But let's go around a little. Let's start with what we were just talking about. Greg Marshall, a couple of years ago, after Wichita State makes it to the Final Four, is the darling of college basketball. And now he's being forced out in shame. And we're hearing all kinds of stuff that this has been going on for years. And, you know, as one person wrote today, is, you know, this is everything that's wrong with the NCAA. Is you got things like this going on. You know, you have the Pitino scandal a few years ago. It just seems to be every year there's somebody new propping up. But at the same time, they were willing to turn a blind eye when no one knew about what was going on, and they were winning.
Yeah, and, you know, apparently this all stems from a 2015-2016 season when they were winning. And apparently he put his hands around a staff member's neck and tried to punch a student athlete who parked in his parking spot and pushed and punched a former player, Shaquille Morris, all this stuff. And I just think it's interesting how this is all coming out now after they had a couple of down years.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
when they were winning and they were bringing all this money in and going to the tournament. Nobody cared about this, and I never heard one word about it. And I go to every Tennessee basketball game, and I watch every Duke basketball game, and of course I'm an Ohio State fan too, so I watch I watch a lot of college basketball. I didn't hear anything about this until yesterday.
No, he's always been revved up as one of the nice guys, you know, one of the good guys, you know. Sticking it out with Wichita State, not going for the money. Yes, he got paid by Wichita State. There's no two ways about it. They made it worth his while to stay. But, you know, he could have probably gone somewhere and made a little bit more money if he wanted to at the time. And I probably wishes he went because he'll never get that money again. But it just is the tip of the iceberg. I mean, Pitino's coming back to try and recover his legend at Iona, and he's already saying this is his last stop, but who knows with him. I think if he gets Iona going really good, he'll be out of there in a little while. But
his last stop, I thought his last stop was like 3 schools ago.
I mean, it's just it just when we were talking, you know, a couple months ago, it's why I hated to see Billy Donovan go to the pros. It's why you hate when you see someone who seems to be a good guy, seems to be someone who gets it, seems to want to do it for all the wrong reasons. You hate to see them leave the college ranks and do it in the pros, because it's like what's left behind are these guys that who knows what's going on there. And like I said, we're only getting just getting these reports 5 years down the line, and you know maybe it's all construed because somebody, you know, since they started losing, that they want to get rid of them. So now we'll let it leak out. You don't know if that's not it. They seem to have covered it up pretty damn well.
I didn't hear one word about it. Like I said, he was the greatest guy in the world 2 years ago, and now all of a sudden he's some animal. And you know, my thinking is, if he was doing this stuff at the time, why don't they let him walk?
Right.
When he had offers from 7, 8 big time Power 5 programs, they could have easily let him walk out the door, but instead they covered it up, gave him tons of money. And so now when this story's all breaking, they've got to pay him $8 million to leave.
Well, it's not just at the basketball program too. It's Coach O down in LSU is getting head nailed now because of what the Geis for what he did while he was on campus, and he's saying he covered it up. So now people I saw the other day on the internet saying that Coach O should be fired. There's a guy who was riding as high as you can on top of the world last year. Couldn't have a better year as a coach and as a personality too. Everybody started loving his personality. Now he's being portrayed as someone who hides people who rape women, who abuse women, he doesn't care about the fact that these guys are out there being animals at night when as long as they win on Saturday. That's the kind of thing he's being characterized at. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not true. All I know is it's out there now.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that when we did our college football coaching show, that the first thing I did was talk about how Coach O was inflated. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 2 years ago, the year before Burrow got there, they were ready to get rid of him when he lost to, when he lost at home in like it was like the second or third game of the season. They got beat down at home by a non-Power 5 school, and everybody was getting ready to get rid of him. And then lo and behold, they win the national championship, and all of a sudden he's some great coach. And we're seeing this year that it was a lot more about the personnel than it was the coaching.
Yeah, it's true, but I mean, the thing is that these things have been going on with college sports forever. I mean, I remember when we heard about the Penn State scandal, and that was like a kick in the gut for me because Joe Paterno was one guy. He had lost his fastball for sure, but he was somebody you thought you could always believe in. Then you Tom Osborne, who was sainted in freaking Nebraska, and you hear what he let Lawrence Phillips get away with, and all this stuff that's been going on. I mean, that how do you stop it? You can't stop it. I don't know. I don't know where and when and how you stop it. But the fact of the matter is I think as the media, and I can say this from some experience, at least at the high school level, that, you sit there and you go along, there's something fishy about things, and you go along with it just because you want to be able to have access to the team and to the players and to the coach, that you don't want to really print the truth. You hope somehow it goes away. And I think somewhere along the line, the media, and I don't care who you talk to out there, all of us that know these things, that don't talk about it, and we just hope somehow it goes away or gets fixed without our having to report on it. I think the media needs to start being more conscious and not being, now everybody's yelling and screaming about it, but somebody had to know about Greg Marshall. And so if this is when I'm a Coach O, somebody knew what was going on at the time it was going on. Somebody had heard something. No one can keep it that good. They're not the CIA you're dealing with.
No, it's just like the Tiger Woods. He was portrayed as this larger than life, godlike figure. And then all of a sudden, when he gets hit in the head with the golf club in his driveway and the police get called, well, bam, then all these stories come out. And I'm like, you're telling me that these stories weren't, in these guys' notebooks before this happened? I mean, everybody knew. Everybody knew about what was going on. Everybody knew that he had 4 hookers in every city, but nobody said a word about it until the bomb dropped.
Right.
And then the bomb drops and everybody's like, wait, now I can print this.
Right, exactly.
It's come on,
you just don't want to be the first guy to say it because God forbid it goes back on you and you're blackballed. I mean, there's the all-time famous story that supposedly went on back in the 1920s with the Yankees going cross country on a train, and Babe Ruth came running through naked, being chased by a lady of the night with a knife. And one sportswriter looks at the other and goes, "Did you just see what I didn't see?"
Exactly, man. I mean, that's what it's all about.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't. But the whole thing is, I'm just reading the stuff that's been coming out all week, and I'm like going, well, and like I said, I can tell you, I could have written about a few things that I didn't write about in my writing days. So, I mean, do you want to be a reporter? Do you want to be a journalist? Do you want to tell the story? Or do you just want to be the guy who jumps on the grave once it's being dug? And we'll see. I don't know. It's just we're getting ready for another basketball season, and then we lead off with the Greg Marshall controversy, and we're in the middle of a football season that's already has the cloud of the pandemic over it, and you got Coach O being, skewered. I mean, you hate to see these things happen in college because it should be an easier fix, but it's not.
Well, my question is, how long till somebody hires Greg Marshall? Because you know that somebody's going to hire him. I mean, probably not this year, obviously, and maybe not next year, but the year after that, somebody's coach tanking, some team is falling apart. You don't think somebody's going to pull the trigger on him?
I don't know. Greg Marshall, because you remember Kevin Bannon?
Kind of.
He was with Rutgers, and he had worked his way up from St. Peter's. He was a Northeast guy. A good story. Relatively a good coach. He worked his way. He was a Jersey kid. Got St. Peter's and made them, at least a respectable program out of, in the MAC conference where they could play some decent teams. Then he goes to Rutgers and he's doing things like making guys strip down in the practice when they can't make foul shots and doing what they call the elephant and all that other stuff. And all of a sudden he gets fired and he never saw the light of day again. So, I mean, I know it worked for Bobby Knight, but Bobby Knight, got to remember, Bobby Knight had a couple of national championships hanging on the wall. Greg Marshall did not have that. I mean, this might be the nuclear winter for him. He might be radioactive after this. I don't, if he had won maybe with Wichita State or, he may find his way to the pros. I don't know, although I doubt the pros will take him now with the reputation he's got. He might have to go to Europe.
Well, look at Calvin Sampson. I mean, you remember Calvin Sampson at Oklahoma. Yeah. And, he's back coaching again. He's at Houston now.
Yeah, but it wasn't about abusing players. It wasn't about
That's true.
I mean, the players do not I think that is like the one sin. They don't want to hear about someone grabbing their buddies around the neck or punching them or getting away with that, because I think they feel that it's a they're put in a no-win situation. I mean, they can't punch the coach back, but the coach can do anything they want to him. So they feel like as a guy, you feel helpless. So I think that's the one thing that you can't do with them is abuse, especially an 18-year-old kid who's afraid to talk back to you, and you punched him. You know what I mean? It's like
no, I understand. I understand. I'm just saying this. None of this. I never heard any of this until 2 days ago.
No, I didn't either.
So but if it was so horrible, why did no one say anything? I mean,
like I said, there's something more to the story, and we may or may not hear it. But the fact of the matter is, Greg Marshall is out of Wichita State. They're looking for a coach, and we go on. And why don't we just start that? We'll start with college basketball here. Got a new season coming up. We have the number one rankings coming out. A lot of last year we were heading for what I think was a pretty good NCAA tournament, because you had teams like that weren't supposed to be good, but that were good, like a team like Dayton. Dayton looked like he was on the way to being a good story. And all of a sudden, there goes the tournament. They're not playing in it. So I don't know if they've got enough coming back, but let's start out. Let's get your top 10.
All right. So I kind of went through and did some homework. Obviously, the big thing about college basketball now is every team's completely different every year. You got freshmen coming in, one and dones. You got we talk about the transfer portal in football, but to be honest, the transfer portal in basketball is like a back door, because there's so many people coming in and out of it all the time.
Right.
And that's one thing that's going to bolster the Kentucky group this year is, they've got obviously they always have a pretty solid group of freshmen coming in, but they've got Olivier Sarr from Wake Forest who's transferring in. This guy averaged 14 points and 10 boards last year at Wake Forest. So it's like now they've got these big time freshmen coming in, and they've got a guy who's played some basketball. Yeah. And so it's going to be interesting to see, how long it takes them to mesh. But if you've ever seen and you pay attention to Kentucky basketball, the first couple of weeks they usually get beat.
Yeah.
They'll lose a game. They usually, start off playing Michigan State or Duke or somebody, and they get beat. And then, by December, January, they're rolling because he knows how to get them going. And he actually, I think Calipari likes to lose a couple games at the beginning of the season and get things going. But my number one team, or let's start at 10. How about that? Can we do that? Yeah. Can we go backwards?
Yeah, we've gone backwards, forwards, sideways. Let's do it.
All right, let's go backwards because I really want to talk about number 10 because it's a team that's near and dear to my heart and a team that I'm going to be getting a chance to see up close, and that's my my Tennessee Volunteers. Rick Barnes, there's
one of the best coaches. Never gets talked about.
He does not get the credit that he's due. I mean, he doesn't have a handful of national championships. That's a fact. But let's be honest. I mean, the guy did a tremendous job at Clemson. I had never even really heard of Clemson basketball until Rick Barnes got there and built that program up. And then he went to Texas. And,
before he went to Clemson, he was at Providence.
Yeah.
And he was phenomenal at Providence. He was competing against – he got there right after Pitino left in a heyday of the Big East. So, I mean, he was going up against the Calhouns, the Boeheims, the John Thompsons. He wasn't playing. He was playing against some very good teams, and he had Providence, a very good competitive team up there. That little school up in Providence.
Oh yeah, and I was just kind of talking about recently, but going back to Providence, he was a great coach. I mean, the guy's been coaching for 40 plus years, but he did a tremendous job at Texas. And he had them competing in the Big 12 every year. He got them to the tournament almost every year he was there. Put tons of guys into the NBA.
Mayday.
And then look what he's done at Tennessee. I mean, he has done a tremendous job at Tennessee. I remember his first recruiting class at Tennessee, and there was nobody talking about this recruiting class. Nobody. There was not a word said about it. There's a lot of 3 stars, and now. Two of those 3 stars are starting or coming off the bench in the first rotation in the NBA. Grant Williams for the Boston Celtics and Admiral Schofield, who's getting a lot of playing time, for the Washington Wizards. And then there was also Jordan Bone and their center also got drafted. So he got 4 guys that were, either drafted or signed out of that first recruiting class. And he's just done a tremendous job. And this is the year where he's got the most talent that he's ever had since he's been at this program. He's got 2 players in the top 25. I don't know a ton about these kids, but I've seen some film. There's Keon Johnson and Jaden Springer. Keon Johnson's actually a local product from here in Tennessee, went to Webb High School, and then Jaden Springer, went to your favorite school at IMG Academy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but both these guys are studs. But the real cool thing about it is we're not just going to rely on these freshmen here at Tennessee. We've got some upperclassmen. They also got a senior transfer, EJ Anasiki from Sacred Heart. Guy that averaged 16 points and 12 rebounds, shooting 40% from the field. Big kid, 6'8", 250. He'll help them inside. They've also got another transfer who sat out last year, who's going to get to play this year, and that's Victor Bailey Jr., who transferred from Oregon. He's a kid out of Texas, but, is also just a really, really good kid. We were hoping he'd get to play last year, but, of course, the transfer thing, you never know who's going to get let play and who's not. Usually at Tennessee, they don't. But, he's going to help them out this year. And they've also got a slew of kids coming back. My favorite is John Fulkerson. He's a senior, one of the most improved players in Tennessee basketball history from year 1 to year 5 now because he's a redshirt senior. So he's back. He is going to be helping them. And then also Yves Pons, the kid who's a senior from France, unbelievable athletic ability, but, it's really taken some time to be molded into a basketball player. And this past year, he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, tested the waters in the NBA, but he's coming back. And then also we've got the man, the myth, the legend from Montevideo, Uruguay, Santiago Vescovi. This was a kid who was supposed to be a freshman this year. He reclassified because we had 0 point guards last year and didn't have anybody to bring the ball up. So somehow they talked him into graduating in December, joining the team, and then he became our best player last year. And I'm telling you, man, I love this kid. He reminds me of Chris Jackson or Mohamed Abdul Rauf, however you want to call him. But there's no like 3-point line. There's no like hash mark. This guy will throw the ball up from anywhere. And usually it's like Nate Schmidt when I used to play basketball. My dad was the coach. It's like, no, great shot. Yeah. Great shot. And I love this kid, man. He's a lefty. He can shoot the ball. I don't think he's the greatest ball handling point guard ever, but he's just a tremendous basketball player, and I loved watching him play last year, and it's going to be awesome to see him play this year. So I spent a lot of time on number 10, but that's the team I know the most about and the team I'm most excited to see.
Well, in the coaches poll, they have him at number 14, so you're not too far off from the coaches. So
okay,
pretty good.
Well, I got them at number 10, mainly because I wanted to talk about them.
No problem.
But we got my number 9 team is going to be the Kansas Jayhawks. Probably, yeah, I know you don't like the Kansas Jayhawks, but let's be honest.
I don't like the Jayhawks. I hate their coach.
He's a good coach, though, man. They probably were, the favorite to win the tournament if there was a tournament last year. They were hitting on all cylinders going into it. Obviously, they've lost a lot of pieces from that team. But they did get, they've got some guys coming back. They've got, also a JUCO transfer, Tyron Grant Foster. He's one of the top junior college players in the country. You pair him with 2 guys coming back, and then they got Bryce Thompson, who's number 26 player in the country, and then also Marcus Garrett, who should be pretty solid for them, I'm thinking, this year. So I'm picking the Kansas Jayhawks to be numero 9.
Okay. Let me see what the coaches have. Let me see what we're going to give a coach's comparison here.
All right. What they got them in?
They got Kansas. They got them up as number 5.
Number 5. Okay. So I got them a little bit further back, but I think they'll be a team to be reckoned with. Number 8, numero ocho. This is a year, I'm telling you, nobody ever thinks about it, but the Big Ten's pretty solid in basketball. Mm-hmm. And they don't get the credit that they're due because, it's the Big Ten. They suck at football. They suck at basketball, but they always seem to win. And I've got the Illinois Fighting Illini.
The coaches have them at number 10. Give me your scouting report on Illinois.
Okay, well, they do get the number 30 player in the top 100, Adam Miller. This is a kid that, he actually, some people had him a little bit higher, a little bit lower than that. But, I think he's going to be a pretty solid player and a very good pickup to go to Illinois. Illinois is not a school that you see landing, nonstop blue chippers. But this is a kid that will immediately start. He's from Chicago. He's 6'3", 170. They list him as a shooting guard, but he'll probably be more of a combo guard, at least from what I saw. He's going to bring the ball up sometimes, and he looks pretty tough. So I'm liking this kid, Adam Miller. I'm also liking some of the kids they have coming back. I don't know really. I'm looking at this over and over again because I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, but Ayo Dasunumu. I don't know, but he's 16.7 points, 3.3 assists. They have him coming back. They've got Trent Frazier coming back. He averaged 10 points a game last year. And they've got Kofi, my favorite last name, Cockburn, also coming back. He averaged 14 points and 9 boards. So pretty good crew coming back.
I mean, they've had their moments. Illinois. I mean, the past, you had the Lon Kruger era. Bill Self was there. Bruce Weber was there. So, I mean, they've had some very good play. And I remember when Kendall Gill was their star. So, I mean,
Oh, I love Kendall Gill,
I
dude.
mean,
One of my favorite
the
players.
flying Illini with him and Nick Anderson, and they did a
Stephen Bardo,
yeah. They were exciting
Marcus
team. They were
Liberty.
exciting team to watch. So they every once in a while, if they can get those Chicago kids to stay home, they're successful. If they're not, if
Yep,
they have to go outside, but it's the hardest thing is to get those kids to stay home in those cold winters of Chicago. So
no doubt. No doubt. Well, let's stay in the Big Ten for numero 7. Wait, did we say who had? Where was the coaches poll have
they had them
Illinois?
at 10, I believe. Let me make sure. 10.
10. Okay, so I got him at 8. I got him a little bit higher. My next team that I picked at number 7 is another team that nobody ever wants to talk about. It's usually a bunch of not the biggest, best athletes out there, but they play as a team, and they've got their entire starting roster coming back, and that's the Wisconsin Badgers. So
I always liked the Badgers. I was a Bo Ryan fan. I wanted him to get at least one title before he retired. He just seemed to always do it right. And the guy who took over from his old assistant is taking on. And like you said, they play as a team. I mean,
yeah,
they always look the same. It never really changes, but yeah, they always look the same. But they're effective up there.
yeah, they've got 5 guys coming back that averaged almost double figures last year, led by Nate Roovers, who averaged 13 points and 5 boards. And then they also have Micah Potter, who was probably their most consistent player last year. He averaged 10 points and 6 rebounds a game. And they've also got Demetric Trice, who averaged 10 points and 4 assists, Brad Davidson, who averaged 10 points and 4 assists, and then Aleem Ford, who averaged 8 points and 4 assists. So this is a team that is going to be ready from the get-go. No big blue chippers on this one.
No,
as per usual.
no, yeah, exactly. They get somebody that you haven't heard about. Usually some big old guy with a Polish last name that suddenly becomes a star.
No doubt. No doubt. So I got them. And then we're going to go outside of the Big Ten and come back down to the SEC. I think, what am I at, 6?
Yep.
6, I've got the Kentucky Wildcats.
Ooh. I know, Calipari, you touched on it a little bit already. You can go a little bit over it if you want again. Coaches poll has them at 9.
9.
Yeah. But, that's any one of these teams that they've got here can be interchangeable, really.
Yeah, I mean, no one really knows. I'm just picking the teams that I liked, the chemistry of who they had coming back, or what kind of top types of freshmen they got coming in. But like I said, we talked about the transfer from Wake Forest, and then they've got 3 guys in the top 25. So Devin Askew, number 24 in the top 100. My favorite player that I looked at was their shooting guard, B.J. Boston, who's a kid out of California. He's 6'7", 185 pounds, from Sierra Canyon. This kid's the real deal. He kind of reminded me a little bit of Malik Monk with a little bit more size. So I'm liking this B.J. Boston. And then they got the number 9 player in the country, and that's Terrence Clark, who is kind of a similar type player. It'll be interesting to see how Calipari uses them. I know he'll probably play him. He'll probably do the 3-guard lineup like he did last year. But Terrence Clark is another big blue chipper. He's out of actually New Hampshire, if you can believe that. Went to Brewster Academy, and he's 6'6", 185. So I'm expecting big things from him as well.
What do you overall when you think of Calipari? What do you think his legacy will be?
One and dones. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's as much as I dislike the guy, you can't deny what he's done in college basketball. I mean, he took a UMass program that was not tremendously successful, and he brought in Marcus Camby and Lou Rowe and took them about as far as they could go. And I think that was his best coaching job, in my opinion, was when he was back at UMass. But let's be honest. I mean, it's not easy flipping your roster every single season and trying to to win national championships, and he's done it a couple times at Kentucky. So, what his legacy is, I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest recruiters of all time, in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, is he the best X's and O's coach of all time? In my opinion, no. But you can't deny what he's done recruiting. I mean, look at the NBA. It's basically the Kentucky graduate program. I mean,
yeah, and this,
everywhere
with mixed results. I mean, his players. Some guys he sends the NBA and are totally ready for it, and some guys you're like, wow, you had no chance. So I know it's
that's the world we live in.
I know it is, and they're ranked as number 9 with the coaches poll, but I'm sure he'll be in the running come tournament time. Who do we got next?
Next, we are at number 5, and I got another Big Ten team. I've got the Iowa Hawkeyes. Lot of press probably the most press I've ever seen on the Iowa Hawkeye basketball program. Would you agree with that in preseason?
Yeah, I've seen him a couple of times have be rated pretty high in the Big Ten, but that was way back when. I mean, it's been a long time since that people really paid attention to him.
Yeah, and they've got the couple of the polls I listed. They have their big man Luka Garza listed as the number 1 player in the country in college basketball for this season. I don't know if he's the number 1 player, but you can't deny that the guy's good. He averaged 24 points and 10 rebounds last year. He's coming back for his senior year. And then everybody else they have coming back got substantial playing time last year. Probably their second best players, Joe Wieskamp. Loved this guy. 14 points and 6 boards last year. And then they also had another kid, CJ Frederick, who's coming back, and he averaged over 10 points a game last year too. So they should be able to score the basketball. And then with the big guy, 7'1" dude, Garza down low, they're going to be a pretty good defensive team.
All right. Let's see. Iowa's number 6 with the coaches poll.
Number 6. All
so
right.
You're right on the money.
Okay.
There.
Well, all right. Cool. Well, good. Number 4, I've got the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Some people have them at number 1, but
1 or 2.
I got them at 1 or 2.
Yep.
All right. I got them at 4. That's just because, it's Gonzaga.
You don't believe in Mark Few.
I like him, I like him, but they win 25 games by playing out there on the coast, and playing, St. Mary's is their, toughest opponent. Now they do step out of conference.
Yeah, they do, but there's only so much you can do with it. You know what I mean?
They play in a couple tournaments.
They should really start bringing on the UCLAs, take on those teams every year, get some kind of a rivalry going back and forth with them. Just because the West Coast needs it. UCLA needs it. Stanford needs it. All those programs that used to be so hot and everybody thought were the greatest teams around, they all need to get on the map, and Gonzaga is the only one there. So Gonzaga could be the way for them to get on the map. If I was UCLA, if I was can't think of the guy's coach's name. I love him. The guy from Cincinnati. I would be scheduling something with Gonzaga every year.
Yeah, I would too. And they've been the best team coming out of the West Coast. And then, usually they have some, they develop their own players, and they get guys, and Few is, I think of him kind of like Coach Barnes in that he'll get these guys that maybe aren't the highest recruited players, and he builds them up and teaches them fundamental basketball. But this year's a little bit different because they've got Jalen Suggs, who is one of the top 3 point guards in the country, coming out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Minnehaha Academy. This kid's a real deal. I've seen the video on him. He can fill it up. He can handle. He's got handles. He's a pretty good defensive player. 6'4", 185. He was ranked number 5 in the ESPN 100. I've got the rivals. He was ranked number 11. So in between 11 and 5, that's pretty big for Gonzaga, getting one of the top 5 or top 11 players in the country. So I'm expecting pretty good things out of him. And then their leading scorer, Corey Kispert, averaged 14 points a game. He's coming back too. So Gonzaga, like usual, will be good at basketball.
All right. And who you got next? Number 3.
Number 3, I've got the Virginia Cavaliers.
Yeah, it's number 4 in the coaches poll. Tony Bennett made
Okay.
relievers out of everybody a couple of years ago, man.
Yep, no doubt. They've got a great coach with Tony Bennett, and I really like him. His dad was a coach.
Yep.
He learned the game from his pops, and they've got some pretty good players coming back. They lost some kids, but they've got Clark coming back, who averaged 11 points and 6 assists, and then they've got their leading scorer, or actually not their leading scorer, but their top producer from last year is a transfer from Marquette, Sam Hauser. He averaged 15 points and over 7 rebounds last year, so he's probably gonna start right away.
Okay, I like that pick.
All right, numero 3. Is that where I'm at?
Yeah.
Number 3? Okay. Number 3 is the Villanova Wildcats.
And Coach Poole agrees with you.
Okay. They had a little bit of a down year the year before. They lost a lot of guys coming off that national championship teams that play. They played in 2 national championship games in a row, won one and lost one. And so they lost a lot of guys, Pascal, all those dudes that went on and are all now playing, Josh Hart, all those guys that are playing in the league now. But, last year they developed a lot of kids. They've got a transfer from Tulane, Caleb Daniels. He's coming in. He's averaged 17 points a game last year. And then they've got Colin Giuseppe, who was their own leading scorer, who averaged 15 points and 5 assists. So I'm looking for Villanova to be pretty tough.
Love Jay Wright. Always liked him. I think he's a great coach. I'm glad he didn't go to the Sixers. I'm glad he's been able to stay where he belongs in the college game because, like I said, he's one of the good guys. We start losing him, I don't know what we're going to do. I mean, Tony Bennett, I'd like to see stick around, and we need these young guys because, Coach K ain't going to be around forever. I'm not a big Coach K. Coach K, I loved him until he started going to one and done aspect, and I think he's kind of bought into his own reputation now a little bit, but we could disagree with that off, when we want to talk about him. But I mean, fact of the matter is that they need these young coaches to stick around because, these older coaches are getting in their 70s and 80s and just start looking for the front porch and, let some of these young guys get a shot. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I obviously love Coach K, and that's why I've got them at my next
number 2.
My next team. Yeah, I got them at number 2. I know I've got them a lot higher than other people. Call me a homer, call me a Duke fan, and you'd be right because I love Coach K. Obviously, he did go to the one and done route, but you know what? I mean, that's the way college basketball is. I actually respect him more for doing it because, I didn't think he ever would, just to say that. I thought he would kind of stick with his system, his formula, but, I mean, everybody else is doing it, and if you want to get the talent, you got to do it. And he got the talent again, man. He did it. It was kind of some late signings, but he got Jalen Johnson out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one of the top 3 players in the country, top 5 players in the country. Depends which one you look at, but this guy is a real deal. He's a small forward, but he's 6'9", 235, and he's the real deal. So I think Jalen Johnson will probably be the cornerstone of this team. But they had to replace Trey Jones, their point guard, who declared for the draft, which is coming up tomorrow. And they did that. They got a kid out of Leesburg, Virginia, Jeremy Roach, 6'1", 175, just a solid point guard who will step in. And then they've got some kids that are coming back too, who will be able to help them. Matthew Hurt, Goldwire, all those kids will be back. Actually, I think Goldwire graduated, but Joey Baker will be back, and some of the guys from last year's team. And I'm expecting them to play pretty well. I think Wendell Moore Jr. Will take the next step, and I'm looking for the Blue Devils to be pretty solid.
And then we got number 1,
numero uno. Yeah. And this is the one that I looked at. Obviously, I am not a huge fan of this program, but when I looked at every single, everybody else's picks, and I went in and kind of dove into it. I had to go with
As
Baylor.
everybody's saying, everybody's on the Baylor bandwagon.
Man, they've got a lot of guys coming back. They actually picked up some recruits. Old Coach Drew knows what he's doing down there. Do I think that Baylor will be the number one team in a couple of weeks? I don't know, but they definitely have a lot of talent, and they got some pretty decent recruits as well. So I had to put them at number one. A couple of the polls I looked at had them at one. Some of them had them a little bit lower than that, but that's kind of what I came up with.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting because, I mean, Kansas is going to be the team that'll, should be their competition coming out of there. Teams that didn't make your top 10 and didn't make any other people's top 10s either. Was Michigan State, of course. You got to think Izzo will always be up there with his team. Another team that's North Carolina, and North Carolina is down between 16 and 17 in most of the polls. You think North Carolina always gets a nod. Shaka Smart in Texas is in low teens, early 20s. UCLA low teens, early 20s in a lot of these things, but I think sometimes they run out of teams to look for. Surprising when I see that on a lot of people's top 15 list that don't know much about Creighton, a Big East team. It looks like they're looking at them and Villanova in the Big East. What do you know about Creighton? Anything?
Not a whole lot. I knew they were pretty solid last year, but I'm not 100% sure of what they got coming back. Now, UNC, I didn't have them in my top 10, but I expect them to be pretty good. It just depends on how long it takes them to get going. Now, they've got a ton of talent coming in, as they always do. They recruit very well just because Michael Jordan went there. They've got that ugly-ass baby blue, so, I hate them. But they do have some good players. Deron Sharp, 6'9", 225 out of Monteverde Academy. He was the number 13 rated player in Rivals. He's going to UNC. They got Caleb Love, who's their point guard. He was ranked 17 in the Rivals. And then they also got Walker Kessler, who is a 7-foot center out of Woodward Academy near Atlanta. So they got 3 of the top 30 coming in this season. So they'll be playing a lot of fun.
All right, we got to do the last 15 minutes. We'll do a little pro football here. I'm going to save Ohio State, Indiana for Thursday night. We got to get into that. We can spend a lot of time on that game because that's going to be the game of the Big Ten this year, it looks like. And we'll get into Harbaugh and the rest of the stuff that came out of Saturday's actions for the NCAA football. Chicago, they lose Foles. Trubisky's gone. And they are now in, a 5-game skid? Or 4 games?
I think they've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 4 in a row. And I watched every minute of that game last night. And it kind of made me sick. I got to be honest. I mean, it's like insanity when you do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get different results. That's what I'm seeing with the Chicago Bears. I mean, 140 yards of total offense. I mean, and I'm hearing people kind of questioning their defense now, too. But I mean, Dalvin Cook ran for 96 yards. But he ran the ball 30 times. And at one point he had 19 carries for 39 yards. And then the defense got tired. I mean, if you look over the last 4 games, we'll do the last 4 games since they've lost, the defense is averaging being on the field 20 more plays than the offense. So just 3 games is 60 plays. They're playing an extra game over other teams. And eventually what's going to happen when you're playing that many snaps and doing that much on defense, being out there that long, your defense gets tired. And, that's what we saw last night. Obviously, their big-time defensive tackle, Ayers, got hurt. And after he went out, they were able to run the football a little bit better. But I just don't understand what the deal is. As me and you talked about, they did not get a running back at the trade deadline. I didn't understand that. Last night they ran Cordarrelle Patterson 12 times and have no one else back there to hand the ball off to. Now, I guess it doesn't really matter because they can't run the ball anyway. So, what's the point of having a running back? But you can't gain a yard running the football, and then every time he drops back to pass, he either gets hit or sacked.
I think he's a good young coach. I just think that the GM's not giving him anything to work with. I mean, I don't know. The Bears and the worst thing is they started out, but you knew. I mean, the Giants could have beat them. Giants should have beat them. Yeah. I mean, they were living on borrowed time. So, eventually that was going to happen. And then you have Sunday night, the Ravens. The Ravens are now on, full alert. I mean, they give the Patriots all they can handle, and on a year when they should walk through the Patriots, the Patriots end up with a 6-point win over them. Lamar Jackson was crying that people know their plays when he comes to the line of scrimmage. If it's true, Lamar, talk to your coaches and say switch to play calls, whatever you got to do. But I mean, right now, Baltimore, who was supposed to be right there next to Kansas City coming in this year, looks like they're closer to being Cincinnati.
I agree, and I know all the blame goes on the quarterback. When a team loses, and the quarterback gets all the praise when they win, and that's how it works. And I understand that, but if you really break down what's happening with the Baltimore Ravens, their defense isn't as good as advertised. I mean, you knew that the Patriots were going to run the football. I knew it, and the Ravens knew it, and they still couldn't stop them. Damian Harris ran the ball 22 times for 121 yards. Rex Burkhead ran the ball 6 times for 31 yards, and Cam had 21 yards rushing. So they ran for over 173 yards on them on a night where you couldn't even see the damn game being played half the time because it was raining so hard.
And who knew who Damian Harris was outside of his immediate family before this year?
I did, but a lot of people don't. But I saw him play at Alabama. He was kind of always the unsung guy because their backfield was so stacked. I think he was there around the time when Derrick Henry was a senior. And then, he just kind of got buried on the depth chart, but he still had a really good career at Alabama. And I saw him sitting on the practice squad on the Patriots. And I actually invested in some of his memorabilia because I'm like, man, he's going to get a chance to play at some point. And, with Sony Michel getting hurt and all the different running backs going down, Damian Harris finally got his chance.
And then we got the game of the day, Cardinals against Buffalo, with probably the play of the year.
The Hail Murray?
My God.
I don't know why, but I'm usually negative. But for some reason, I never gave up on this game. And I was like, with the receiving core they've got, with that quarterback, I was like, they might have a chance, even with them scoring. But then I looked at the clock, and I was like, 30 seconds, no timeouts. How are they going to do this? And, Kyler Murray used his legs to extend the play. And then, it was another example of the worst trade in recent history in the NFL, trading DeAndre Hopkins for a broke-down running back. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, if not the best, and he proved it once again.
They said about the catch, someone said if you look at – someone did a close-up on the hands, and freaking Hopkins is wearing a pair of Air Jordan gloves, and everybody else is like wearing Adidas and other kinds of gloves. And it's like, God, if Air Jordan wanted to have a better ad for selling their freaking gloves, they couldn't ask for a better one. And then to finish up tonight, because we'll hit this again on Wednesday or on Thursday. We're a little short on time tonight. L.A. The Rams, they beat Seattle. I mean, what are the Rams? every other week they seem to change their personality, change their personnel, change whatever they do. You think they're going into this game and you figure Seattle will bounce back, be ready to take them, and they take care of Seattle.
Yeah, and you know what? They didn't even really run the ball that well. I mean, usually they set up the pass with the run, and it seemed to me like in that game they kind of set the run up with the pass. I mean, Jared Goff, he didn't throw a touchdown in this game, but he threw for over 300 yards. And, Seattle's defensive problems are well documented. I mean, they're having trouble stopping anybody. And then, in this game, they didn't really have a running game either because all their running backs are hurt. Carlos Hyde was out. Chris Carson was out. They brought back Alex Collins, who, played for them 5 years ago, and he was out there trying to run the football. So, it all's been falling down on Russell's shoulders, and he almost has to be perfect for the Seahawks to win. And I think he's pressing, man. I mean, he's turned the ball over 7 times in the last 3 games, and I just think he's trying to do too much.
And then we got to start believing in Miami.
I think so.
There's no other way to look at this team anymore. I mean, they now have their young quarterback. They're breaking him in slowly. He's doing his job. Their defense is one of the best defenses in football, and they beat the Chargers. I mean, and it's not. I understand the Chargers are another team going through growing pains, but let's face facts. We were so impressed with Herbert. They've been in most of the games they've been playing. That was a good win. That was a really good win.
It was a great win. And we've talked about it on the show before. I think this guy is, at this point, he's the coach of the year. What he's doing, they didn't even have a running back to play in this game. They had a rookie, undrafted free agent back there. They actually released Jordan Howard right after the game and had him as a healthy scratch. And so you've got a rookie quarterback in his, third start. You've got no running back, and they still won the game. I mean, they're just playing tremendously on defense. Their special teams are playing unbelievable. And, they're doing enough on offense to win. I mean, it's not like an amazing offensive performance. He only threw for 160 yards. But no interceptions. He didn't get sacked one time. I think that's one thing that nobody's really talking about is the job that the offensive line is doing. We had a lot of question marks about that offensive line before the season, a lot of young pieces on that line, a lot of unproven guys, but they're proving themselves right now.
The thing is that, Tua's not doing much, but he's not making mistakes. That's the biggest thing is with these young quarterbacks. If they're not making mistakes, their confidence will build. They'll see the guys that are open. I remember the story of Peyton Manning when he first got to the league and he called his father up and he goes to Archie, he goes, nobody's open. He goes, they're open. You'll see him eventually. But the important part is that he's not making the mistakes and throwing the ball, like making the mistakes, a Daniel Jones mistake, a Sam Darnold mistake, trying to fit the ball into a tight window. He's doing the right things that a winning program has to do. That's what Tom Brady was before he became Tom Brady. He was the game manager. And, sometimes you have to be that until you got the players around you.
Yeah, I mean, when your offensive line's playing like they are, when your defense is playing like they are, you don't have to go out there and try and do more than you have to. I mean, the thing that I thought was amazing about that game was that I think he hit 9 different receivers. No receiver had more than 4 catches. So he's spreading the ball around. He hit Durham Smythe on a beautiful pass for that touchdown. He's like their second or third tight end. So he's not pinpointing anybody. Preston Williams didn't even play in this game. So they were they were undermanned going into the game, but he's just not, I knew this was going to be the factor with him was that nothing's too big for this guy. He's played in national championship games. He's been in the biggest stage in college football. He does not look nervous out there, but, you got to give a lot of credit to Coach Flores and the job that he's doing with the team that he's got.
And I'm just going to send out my regards to Coach Judge, he's really doing a good job with the Giants, even though the record doesn't show it. Daniel Jones, I've seen some improvement with over the last few weeks. I mean, he started to take sacks instead of throwing stupid stuff up. Will it continue? I don't know, but I remember Phil Simms at the beginning of his career would do stupid things. Eli Manning would do some things. So as a Giant fan, I'm starting to see something good happening. And I'll tell you, Joe Judge, I right now, he was the perfect choice for this team.
I really like Joe Judge. I got to be honest, I wasn't real high on the hire when it happened. I didn't know a ton about him. I thought there were some other guys that they maybe should have gone with. But to be honest, I've been totally blown away by the coaching job. I told you, even the game they lost against Tampa Bay, the game plan that he had, the schemes that he drew up were amazing. And then, we saw it against the Eagles. Daniel Jones ran the ball like he should have been doing before, and had 64 yards on the ground and a long touchdown. And then he threw it 21-28 for 244. No touchdowns, but no interceptions.
No errors.
And no fumbles.
Exactly.
Zero fumbles.
When I saw him take that sack early in the game, I said, he looks like he might be learning. I was crossing my fingers. So
no, that's a difference. That's a difference between winning and losing. Instead of throwing interceptions and fumbling the football, he took sacks, threw it away, and that's why they won the game. Exactly.
All right, we're gonna call it a quick tonight. Be back on Thursday night. We got a lot of college football to get to and a lot of pro football to get to. Good picks for the basketball. I like them all. Can't wait to see what goes on this season. I'm looking to see what Rick Pitino does. I would like to see. We have nothing in the Northeast since UConn's dead. There's no team up here to root for. So if you can get a little basketball around here going wild, it would be nice to see. And it's only about a 20-minute ride from my house, Iona.
Is it? Okay. Well, a couple of years ago, we thought it was the end of Rick Pitino with the, the prostitutes and the shoe money and paying players and all that stuff. But here he is back, already in the news. So yeah, I'm all for it. I like Rick Pitino. I hope he does well. And now, who is I thought that Hurley was coaching UConn. Now, isn't he?
Hurley, but he's still not getting the recruits yet.
Hey, you know what? He's proven to be a pretty decent coach at some of his other stops. So maybe he can build something. I think
he's a good coach. The only thing he needs is for his father to come back and start coaching high school basketball and give him a pipeline up there.
From St. Joe's.
Exactly. All right, good show tonight. We will be back on Thursday. Sorry we're a little rushed tonight. A lot of things going on around here the last couple of days. You had a thing of your regular job. I had a thing of my regular job. We will be back. We'll take more time on Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Safety and the Sportswriter Show with
Knoxville Nate.
Joe, talk to you on Thursday.
Adios.